All right. Good afternoon, everyone. How are we doing today?
Hey, good, and you?
Hey,
Yeah,
okay.
doing fine. Thank you. I would like to begin by mentioning that I have a very long list of messages, like DMs on Discord. Some of them are from you. I am not ignoring you. I just have to go down one by one. I think it's mostly the CV from the CV workshop, but if I have not replied, just give me today. I think I will be able to finish all of them today. But yeah, just letting you know. So I'm actually really excited for a number of reasons. So let me tell you what's going to be the strategy for today and so on. Number one, today might be, I do not know. Sometimes I talk too much and then things overextend. But today might be a bit of a shorter lecture. We are going to, and the reason for that is because today is the last day that we're going to be looking into pandas the way that we have been looking into. We're going to review one more thing that I want to review because I believe it's very important when it comes to using pandas. We will look once again at what we have done for the past few weeks, and then, but this will be after. I like after the lecture. I just need to send it to you. I'm gonna be giving you, so to say, your first project. Like, not, I don't want to use the word real project, but yeah, real project, in which you're gonna be using everything that we have been applying and so on. The project is gonna be more complex than the dog thing, the dog attacks and the Spotify and all that stuff. It's gonna be a little bit more complex, not only in terms of size of the data is going to be bigger, but also you need to apply all the stuff that we have been learning. So now it's going to be, yeah, that aspect. So I'm finishing the lecture a little bit early so that I can give you more time to work on that. Because you have basically 1 week to finish this until next Wednesday. And the reason for that is because then next Wednesday we are going to officially start with the next stage of this journey, which is data visualization. Okay, we're going to start that next week. And here's the thing, just because this is like when we were in Python, you might remember that we moved from one module to another, let's say module 102 to module 103, but that didn't mean that we had to forget everything we learned from the previous module. No, in fact, everything accumulates. So guess what's going to happen when we reach data visualization? It's going to be the same exact thing. Everything we're learning about pandas, we're going to be using it over there. Therefore, it is very important that you become comfortable using pandas, answering questions with pandas, and manipulating data using this tool. Okay, because we are going to be using it when we reach data visualization. Mm, any questions about the strategy for today? Any questions? No? Just then, also as a friendly reminder, if you have not sent me your CV, your updated CV, please do so as soon as possible. Over the weekend will be okay, but please do it this week because I have to, or Morten more specifically, needs that for your internships. All right. And I believe he has already kind of started. So now that that is out of the way, let's go ahead and let's do some programming. So let's see, Anna, for the past few weeks, we have been looking again into pandas, yeah? And we have seen how, in fact, I believe I had this conversation with you that with pandas, it seems that we are not using Python per se anymore. Like the concept of for loops, we very rarely have spoken about for loops since we began all of this. The concept of functions, as an example, we are calling functions, that is correct, or methods, but we're not, say, creating our own functions. And it seems that pandas abstracts or hides a lot of information. Would you agree with me, Anna?
Yes.
How many of you agree with that? Like, hey, this feels a little bit differently. compared to the tasks that we had before, because the tasks that we had before, you had to kind of grind the solution. You needed to build the solution kind of from scratch. And here it feels like if I were to open one of the old ones, it feels like magic to some extent. We just do some basic operations and voila, the thing just appears. How many would agree with that? No
I
one.
agree with you.
Agree.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Got it. Got it. Good. Good. So yeah, to some extent, it is always important to make a balance. What do I mean by this? Technically speaking, technically speaking, and you can basically ask people from the well, if you know any, but you could ask people who the ones that already finished the education, the ones that you went to see their presentations. We didn't use pandas that heavily back then. They were kind of using the older version of the education. We were not using pandas that heavily. So when they had to solve the dog thing, when they had to solve the dog attacks data set, when they needed to work on the restaurants data set, when they had to work with all of those data sets, they had to kind of grind the solution. And although that works, my friends, at the end of the day, what is important when we're in the industry, when we're in the job, is we need to be effective. We need to be, I don't want to use the word quick, but we want to be effective at analyzing data, looking for solutions. And a tool like Python, sorry, not Python, but Pandas, allow us to have that effectiveness, that efficiency. All right. That doesn't mean that for loops are not going to be involved. That doesn't mean that none of this is going to be involved. In fact, when we go, it will be after data visualization. We're going to start looking into retrieving data from the internet via APIs. You're going to see that we're going to go back a little bit into actually writing code, the if statements, and all of that. So you cannot forget those things, but just keep in mind that we're not using it because when it comes to data analytics, Pandas is the key tool that will allow us to be effective, so to say, in analyzing data. So that's important to keep in mind. Now, can we do all of this pure Python? Yes, we can, but to some problems might be a headache. I have to be honest with you. Some problems would be a headache to do. So that's why we don't do it. Yes, Sunit, go ahead, please.
Yes, in last few lectures, you have been telling a lot of times to check the result so that we don't blindly just believe pandas. So yeah, so that's the one thing I want to add, that yeah, it's really helpful that we don't only blindly trusting the code. So sometimes it will not maybe give our desired output.
Exactly. Or to add on that, we might write a piece of code, whatever that could be. Said I don't know why, but I deleted some code. I don't know where it went. But anyway, we might write some code, but maybe we wrote the pandas statement incorrectly. And then yes, it's giving an output, but is that output correct? We need to validate those things. So that is an important point that Sunit brought. We cannot, and that's always the case, we cannot just blindly accept whatever Pandas gives us. We need to do some checks. And the truth is, when it comes to visualization can help in that. We have to see that next week. But basically, we have a data, we have whatever it is, and we say, okay, let's plot this very quickly. Just let's plot it to see if this actually makes sense. Because I think we can all agree that if I have a data set, let's say this one, yeah, this is clearly not that friendly to the human. This is a little bit more friendly. But if we then, depending on the question, are able to see it as a bar chart, as a line chart, for example, we will be able to make to obtain certain results. So, for example, if we have a bar chart that suddenly says that more men survive than women, we clearly know, hey, wait a minute, there's a problem here. This shouldn't be like this. It's not possible. That's not how it went. So the point is, visualizations help in that process. All right. And if you want to be extra careful, you could solve it both ways, with pandas, without pandas, and the answer should still match. Now, one is going to take way longer than the other, depending on the question, but it's still possible. So yeah, my other students, they needed to create functions, they needed to read the file directly, they needed to use the import CSV module, all right? And they needed to loop row by row, extract data like as if it's a dictionary, and they needed to manually count or manually do stuff. By manually, I mean like they had to write the code for it. Now in one line, dot value sort or value count, and boom, you get the number, all right? So keep that in mind, keep that in mind. Good. With that said, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be doing some extra assignments or practice. Oh, sorry, I didn't see your hand, Anna. Go ahead, please.
No, just to ask because so as a data analyst in an industry, would you say that we use more pandas, like more these libraries than class, for example, or functions?
Good observation. I would say a combination of both, and let me explain why. Right now, as you know, we are using a notebook, an interactive notebook, okay? And as you know, this allows me, I mean, let's assume I'm in the process of analyzing, determining, answering my questions, and therefore I'm writing code, changing code, and so on. And this is a beautiful environment to be able to quickly run stuff and stuff like that. When it comes to visualization, it's even better because I can see it, you will see it next week, but I can see the graphs immediately here. Now, that's the first stage, okay? If you are only up to there, then you could say that's all you need. However, it is the case in many projects, like for example, the one that I used to work before, and this was many years ago. The first stage was to, do the notebooks, but then those notebooks, and I believe we do that through here. Where's the export? Where is the export? Or maybe it's here, sorry. Maybe it's here. Export, yeah. These notebooks are then exported to actual Python code. Why, you might wonder, why would we want to do that? Because, for example, we want to use this code because the code is already part of the, we want to use the code, but we want to deploy this code into a server, for example, so that this code is automated. And as an example, we want to create some type of real-time database, or sorry, not real-time database, real-time dashboard as an example. So which is what we had back then. So it means now that I have created the code and I'm happy with my code, I need to export that to Python. So now we go back to the .py stuff. And then in here is where, once again, I'm going to go back to that concept that we learned of classes and object-oriented programming, because, and you will see this in the visualization, the code for visualizing to create a bar chart is always the same, all right? Guess what's the only difference from chart to chart? When you put a bar chart, guess what's the only difference for the most part? This is kind of a high school question, actually. So if you have a bar chart, what's the thing that actually always changes? The only thing that actually changes?
The results?
Well, yeah, because, and why does the result changes?
Because the value changes.
Exactly, because the X and Y data will change. But technically speaking, as you will see next week, the code is always the same. Yeah, the title will be different, the labels will be different, but for the most part, it will be the same. So that is a code that, for example, you would put in a class. You call it, as an example, graph. In fact, let me see something very quickly. Let me show you something. So this is my old stuff. Let me show you something. So here we haven't really started with the graphs yet, okay? But you can see that, as I said before, when you want to create a line graph, you always need the same type of stuff. You need an X data, Y data, the labels, the bunch of labels, and some other configuration. So this is the code that when you're doing in Pandas, you will not do it like this. You would just, sorry, when you're in the Jupyter notebook, you will not put it in a function per se. You would just do it as we have been doing it in a normal cell. But then when it's time to deploy, you say, okay, I need to organize this code. That's where classes will come into play. That's when functions will come into play, and so on and so forth. So if I showed you, for example, I think it was here. So for example, you can see that we are plotting some information, but then you can see that we are manually extracting the information from the CSV. This, instead of doing it like this, now we can do it in one line, for example, with pandas. Yeah. So to answer your question, Anna, it depends on the stage. It depends on the stage. You usually begin with Jupyter notebooks because that it's easier to manage when it comes to the phase of creating the code. After that code is deployed, after that code has been, so to say, it works, then you want to deploy it because to deploy it, you need it as a normal Python code or Python file. So therefore you export this to a Python file, and then you need to refactor that code. Hopefully all of you remember what refactoring means. The behavior is going to stay the same, but it's organized differently. So in there, we create the functions, the classes, we create one class, for example, for graphing, and so on and so forth. And then we use them elsewhere. And then we can deploy that code. So it depends on the stage that we are on. Does that answer the question, Anna?
Yes, thank you. I can't lower the hand, so if you can do it.
Yes, of course. Yes. Good. All right, so let's do a little bit of this practice. And the reason is because, as I said last time, group by is something that is very, very useful. It's very, very powerful. And it can be a little bit confusing at first, all right? So just as last time, we are going to take it step by step, and you're going to see how the group by can play a big role, so to say. So in here, we're being told, remember, we're in the Titanic dataset, and we are being told that we have a bunch of passengers. Let's open the dataset so that we can at least see what we're working with. So here it is. Here it is. So we have our dataset, and we're being asked to calculate the average fare per passenger class. So for example, as you remember from here, we have class 1, class 2, and class 3. And I want to know on average, how much was paid in each class. So for example, on class 1, the average was 100 pounds. In class 2, 20 pounds. Class 3, 3 pounds. I don't know. So with that in mind, I'm going to begin. I know that I need to begin with data frame, of course, but then what? What comes next? Remember, yes, group by, exactly. By the way, since we are in the group by kind of practice, you might imagine that for the most part, the group by will play a key role in these answers, but the way we use it is going to change a little bit. So group by, and in this case, what do I want to group by?
Passenger class, P class.
Exactly, P class, exactly, which looks something like this. If I run this code, okay, at this moment, it doesn't really do anything. But what do I want to determine from each class? What do I want to determine from each class?
Average
Fair.
Exactly. I want to know from each class how much they paid. So do we have a column that provides me information about the prices? Do we have a column that gives me that? Fair, exactly. So I go ahead, I use the accessor operator, fair, and then what do I want to do with that? You said it earlier?
Mean.
Okay, exactly. Dot mean, meaning I want to calculate the average. And now if I run that, we see that there. P class, first class, this was the average, this was the average, this was the average. Could I do this in plain Python? Yes, I could. I will have to use a for loop as an example that goes row by row, and then I will have to do, you could have a dictionary in which the key will be like 1, 2, 3, and then the value will be the average. So then I will have to go first row. If, what is this? P class equals 1, do this. Else if P class equals 2, do that. Else if P class equals, well, in reality, there's only 3, so you can just do else, you do something else. And then you could do this manually, but as you can see, that's the difference between a for loop, and inside the for loop you have if versus one line. Do you see the difference here? Do you see the difference, everyone?
Yeah.
So now again, remember, at the end of the day, when you go, I'm preparing you kind of for the industry and the job. It is important to remember that people are not really paying you to write code, okay? It's not about code. They're paying you to solve problems. And the better you are at solving those problems, in this context will be data-related problems. The better you are and effective you are at doing that, the better you're doing your job. So if it takes you, as an example, just 15 minutes to 2 seconds, let's say, to write it this way, why wouldn't you do that? You see? So I'm not saying that Python is bad. I'm just saying that Pandas is the go-to tool when it comes to writing code. All right. So yeah, and there you go. So now, for example, let me just look at something very quickly. I want to just look at something. One second, please. Let me try one thing. One second, please. I need to see something. Okay, let me try one thing. There you go. So you see how in one line, well, you could say 2 lines then, but in one line, I was able to do the graphing. Okay, I'm giving you kind of a sneak peek into what's coming next week. So we can clearly see now, okay, it was always, I would say that it was always kind of obvious when you see it like this, that, okay, the first class paid more. But now with this extra line, for example, it's even clearer. And not only the numbers are clear, but you can also see the magnitude of the difference. You see what I mean? If I run, let me run, where is this here? If I run full here, yeah, you can clearly see it is obvious. The first class pays 84. That's obvious that this one is the biggest. But you really appreciate the magnitude when it's visualized, when you see it in person. So this is what we're going to be looking at next week. And going back to what you said, Sunit, this will allow me, if we had, let's say, an example, more classes, more information, it could be a little bit difficult to detect errors. But if suddenly we see it like this, we will be able to notice, wait a minute, why, as an example, if this would have been 3, it said 3 here, we could have said, wait a minute, why is it 3 this one? This makes no sense. All right. So these are the type of things that we will be doing next week. Okay. But let me just stick to this, and there you go. Good. Let me take this off also. Let me take this off as well. Good. What about the survival rate? I want to be able to determine the survival rate per gender. What would I need to do? df.group by, and then based on what do I want to group by?
Survival.
Gender.
Exactly. Because I want to say, what is the survival rate per gender? So look, by the way, I haven't mentioned this, but I'm going to mention it now. Everyone has their own way of doing things, okay? Maybe you do it like this. I'm going to tell you what I do in case maybe you realize, oh, I do that same thing, or maybe you can just steal it and use it as well. But when I'm having a question like, let me use this one as an example. It's telling me, what is the average fare per passenger class? The first thing that comes to my head is not Pandas. It's not even Python. It's not even programming. Okay, it's not even programming. The first thing that comes to my head is, how do I want to view the information? In my head, I have kind of like this, like 2 columns. I say, okay, I want to be able to see the classes, like P1, P2, P3. And besides that, I want to be able to see the average. So then I ask myself, my next question will be, okay, if I want to see the classes 1, 2, 3, then it means that I must group based on classes. So that's what I do, the group by classes. And then I say, okay, from each class, what is the piece of information that I need? Do I want the name of the people in the class? Do I want the age of the people in the class? Or do I want to know how much they paid each person paid in each class? And I say the fare. And then I ask my next question. So in this one, it's the same thing. What is the survival rate per gender? The first thing that comes to my head is, okay, I want to be able to see male and female. That's the first thing I want to see. Then I say, okay, for each male, I want to see the percentage. And then for female, I also want to see the percentage. I don't really know if that's how you guys do it, but that's my recommendation. When you have a question, forget about the Python, forget about the pandas. That's not the first concern. The first concern is, what data do I need and what is it that I want to do with that data? And then we do the implementation. I want to hear from you. How do you guys do it when I give you a question like this, of this nature? Of course, you will be using pandas, but how do you approach these questions? Let's see. Coffee, how do you approach the questions?
Yeah, I think I use a similar approach
Mm.
as well. Yeah, so
Okay.
I try to deduce what's from the question, what am I looking at? So as in the, we're looking at the survival rate per gender. So since this is got to do with grouping, so I know that I will have to group by the gender and then find the survival rate. So how do I calculate the survival rate?
For each gender, exactly.
For each gender.
Ah, correct, exactly. What about you, Malvika? How do you approach these problems? Do you have a similar mindset that first you kind of look at the information and you have like something that you view in your head before doing the pandas, or do you go straight into the pandas?
No, like Kofi mentioned, I read the question and then try to analyze it mentally, like what is it asking for, and then I go ahead and work with it.
Exactly. Look, guys, I want to take this opportunity to also bring something up. As you know, besides teaching this class, I also teach the Android class, all right? The Android. And just as you guys are already on this part, that other group is already working on Android. And again, given that I have those two backgrounds, I can tell you that the mind of you, like the way that you approach problems is very differently to the way that the Android people approach problems. And it has nothing to do like this group versus this group. It's more about the mindset that you need to have as a data analyst versus the mindset that you need to have as an Android developer. Like when you're an Android developer, when you're creating an app, the minds it's maybe a little bit hard to explain or to understand if you have not done Android, but when you're doing Android, your concern is more like, okay, I have this button. What do I need this button to do when I click it? And then we ask the question, okay, it's more about behaviors. Over there, the mindset is more like, okay, first I need the button to be clicked. What do I want to do when the button is clicked? Okay, the button is clicked and I want to be able to read the information in the text field. Then what do I want to do? So it's more like, it's the mindset over there is more like a recipe. What do I want to do based on this click of a button? What do I want to do when the user inputs their name? What do I want to do? And they over there, the question that they constantly have to ask themselves, or what I force them to ask themselves is, okay, what do you want this button to do? Tell me the steps as an example. All right. That mindset, you don't have it here. In here, it's more, by the nature of the program, of course, it's more you have a piece of data and you need to ask yourself, okay, how, from this piece of data, what is the information that I care right now? How do I want this information to be seen or organized? You see the difference? So over there, they are more like implementing features. What happens when I click this? What happens when I click that? How do I show this? How do I show this image? How do I move from one screen to another? And in here, it's more about visualizing a piece of information. Meaning, you have all of this, and in your head, you have sort of to say, you have to say, okay, what do I want to extract from here? How do I want to group these things? What is the information that is relevant to answer this question? Over here, everything revolves around questions. Over there, everything revolves around behavior. What is the behavior that I want this app to have? In here, it's more, how do I answer this question? What is the question that I want to answer? And it's a totally different mindset. And I can feel it even in myself, because I have the other group on Tuesday, I have you on Wednesdays, and I can see how my thinking shifts a little bit when I'm solving problems over there versus when I'm solving problems here. And I want you to take that home, my friends, because you need to have the proper mindset. These tools, this is easy to learn. I mean, this is easy, but the mindset, that is the real value. The way you see problems, the way you approach problems. That's what makes the difference between, okay, this is difficult, this is not difficult, I don't know what to do, I'm paralyzed. Asking those proper questions. Any thoughts on that? Any thoughts on that? Any thoughts on that? Have you noticed that on yourself now that you're solving this, the Titanic and the dog and all that stuff? Have you noticed that on yourself?
Yes, I think you literally need to have an analytical mind because you need to interpret,
yeah.
The things in the right way. So, for example, as you said, in this type of questions, you need to really understand what that means and how you want to organize that. And so it's easy for you to visualize and then analyze what you want to, what you separate to be analyzed, you know?
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. Anyone wants to share their perspective? Maybe you have reflected on this as well. Anyone?
No, I just want to thank you that after this discussion, maybe we will think much more about the problem and what the information we need. Don't overthink. Just think step by step, little. The database can be bigger, but we will work only for solving our problem. And
Exactly. Because I everything is about perspectives, my friends. Everything is about perspective. And to add on this, I also want to bring something up. First, I want to ask you first to see what you say, and if it's wrong, it doesn't matter. Remember, we're here in a discussion. But if I were to ask you, why would a company want to have a data analyst? Why, to put it a bit more personal, why would a company want to hire you as a data analyst? And by you, I mean in general, you, okay? Why do you think that is? Why would they want to have a data analyst? What value do they get by spending money hiring a data analyst? I could answer that question in one sentence. You don't really need a paragraph. So, I mean, you can give me a paragraph if you want, of course. But why do you think that is? Anna, I think you were going to say.
Yeah, to solve problems based on data.
Okay. Yeah. To solve problems based on data. Let's keep that. I want to hear a little bit more.
Maybe the company wants to take a bigger decision, so they want to analyze the previous data. It can be, I can give you so many examples because I always think about that little bit. Maybe they want to hire, maybe in the hotel industry, because I work extra there. So they want to put some extra employee. So in which time they are making more money. So in which time they need more employees. So that's a very little thing. Then maybe in ICA, so maybe 10 customers come in the morning. So, and the employees need to refill these products. So which products are much more needed to refill first? So all these can be solved by data. These are two real small real life examples for me.
That's correct. That's correct. One more. Someone want to?
Yeah.
Malvika. Yes.
Malvika
and then Coffee. Yes.
Sometimes company collect data about certain things, but they don't know what to do with it. They don't know what to do with the data because currently the company which I'm working from, they collect a lot of data when there's a time of onboarding, but they don't know what to do with it because I can see they don't know anything. So sometimes if they hire data analyst, they can the data analyst can probably analyze what the data is being collected and maybe produce a solution what can be done with that data which would better help the company in certain way.
Okay, let me hear Coffee and then Manisha.
Okay, so I think it's also to maybe a company want to make some certain predictions into the future. So they want to have an insight of what might transpire into the future based on what information they have now. So
in the past, exactly.
from the past.
Might come based on the past. And Manisha, yes?
Company hire data analysts to help because they have, like Malvika said, they have a lot of projects, and they hire data analysts to understand their data and make them take better decisions for the future. Also, it can help them for improve efficiency and save money, I can say, and also to understand the customer requirements, because data analyst can analyze the data and tell them what are the problems that customers are facing, what are their requirements. So I think in this way data analyst can help them a lot.
This is very good, very good. In one sentence, I would say that all of this is correct, okay? All of this is correct. But just to push a little bit, let's say that there is one keyword or two keywords, you could say, that I want you to, if you do not remember anything about today's lecture, at least remember what I'm about to say. Because if you see your role, if you see your domain from this perspective, everything you do, or you see it from that lens, let's say it like that. If you see it from that lens, everything else will make exact sense and complete sense about why you're doing it. Because once again, sometimes we do stuff without knowing why, but if we really understand why, everything makes sense. If I had to summarize, let's push a little bit on all of this. Here we say, okay, Humberto, because maybe they might want to be interested in understanding customers. But then I will say, okay, why would they be interested in understanding customers? We will answer that in a second. Then I say, okay, but let's say, okay, Humberto, the company needs some data because, and therefore data analysts, because they want to be able to improve efficiency and save money. But then I come, okay, but why do they want to improve? Not necessarily why do they want to improve efficiency? That's obvious. They want to save money and so on. But what does data has to do with that? How will the data help them improve all this stuff? Here, I like this one. Understand data and make decisions. I will leave that for later. Actually, let me put that here. Here, you gave me some examples. Let's say I want to be able to understand employees to determine, I don't know, the shift that they need to go or stuff like that. But not why, but how does data play a role in there? At the end, the best word, or the word that I want you to keep in mind, is this one: decision making. Everything is about decision making, and if I want to be more precise, informed decision making. Let me give you an example. I want to be able to understand the customers because I'm about to launch a new product, and I need to make decisions on probably how that product looks. I need to make decisions about what the product actually needs to do. And to do that, I therefore need to make informed decisions. And I'm going to use my data to be able to make a better decision instead of a guess. I want to be able to improve efficiency because I need to save money. Things are quite slow here, and I'm losing a lot of money. I have a lot of employees. Probably I don't need that much. Therefore, I need to make certain decisions about what are the things that I can improve. What are the areas that are probably being redundant or areas that are being ineffective? I need to make certain decisions about probably cutting some cost. So I cannot just say, okay, what am I going to cost? What am I going to cut? Let's see. Okay, here. No, it's not a random decision. It has to be an informed decision. That's where data comes into play. We analyze the data. We see what are the areas that probably need more focus than others. Where are the areas that probably there's more cost saving? Again, decision making. This one as well, prediction. Okay, I understand. This is the best example. And this is how I'm going to give you a little bit of what I have in my backlog. As you know, I have all these students, and I have been having all these students for 5 years. And in the process, I have, for example, your homework. I have a lot of information, actually. And the idea, a project I have in the future is, okay, it is normal. Students have struggles. Students have problems. It would be, and there are always signs. At this moment, I know when a student is about to have some problems, because it's more of a combination of guess and experience. Usually, regardless of the student, regardless of the generation, regardless of everything, students who start presenting problems, they always start the same way. They start falling behind, they start not going to lecture. There are always clear signs, all right? And if you have some experience, you will always notice it. So we can say, okay, let's use the data as an example so that I can make possible predictions of who are the students that are more likely to start dropping, so that I can make, once again, informed decisions and take a rapid action. Again, about this, collect data, they don't know what to do. Okay, this one is okay. And in here, identifying products. So, okay, let's identify what products are not being sold that much so that either I can make decisions about not buying them anymore, or probably I want to start some, like campaign. Again, everything revolves around decision. So if a company hires you, I'm going to ask the question again in one sentence. If a company hires you as a data analyst so that you can analyze their data, it's because probably what do they need from you? Or what do they need you to help them with? I have it in blue there.
Be able to make informed decision.
So that you can help them make informed decisions based on that data. So that you can help them make informed decisions based on that data. So let me give you a sneak peek very quickly. You are going to be working, well, we are, because how do you call this? When we start data visualization, we're going to look at the new data set. And this is a real data set also. It's about a coffee shop. We have information such as different locations of coffee shop. We have information about like different products. We have information about different product categories, product details. We also have information about transactions. Like, for example, each row is a transaction. So this was done in June 12 and this time. How can, if this coffee shop hires you so that you can analyze their data, probably what do they want to know? Some examples of things. What do you think they might be interested in knowing? A coffee shop like this. Put yourself as a business owner. What do you think they might be interested in?
What kind of product sells more? Like
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. What products are selling more? What else? If I'm a coffee shop, I'm open Monday to Sunday, and I realize, okay, I need to take a day off. Should I take Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Sunday? Which day should I take?
The day we sell less.
And how would I know the data with the less?
By analyzing the data. all the sales of the week.
Exactly. Analyzing how are the transactions per day so that I can know, hey, Monday, or let's say Thursday is a very slow day compared to the rest. We might think, okay, Saturday, everyone is off. Well, maybe Saturday is the most important day because everyone is off from work. So therefore, they are the ones that's the day that you want to be open because that's where people go out. If I say, hey, look, guys, I need to determine what's the best schedule. Should I open at 6 in the morning? At what time should I open and at what time should I close? The best way to answer that question is, let's analyze when people come. We have the time, we have the hour, we have the day. Let's analyze it, and then let's make an informed decision. So from now on, I want you to think of yourself as people who are being hired to help make informed decisions. That's what you're being paid for, so to say. Okay? Actually, sorry, any questions so far? Any questions so far? Any questions so far?
Are we going? I lost what you said. Are we going to work with that data?
Yes, starting next week.
Nice.
We're going to use it for visualization. So, and by the way, the Titanic dataset had 891 rows. Do you want to know how many rows that dataset has?
Yes.
149,000. So good luck trying to modify it manually. And I did that intentionally, all right? So that people cannot manually do anything. They have to use Pandas because that's the scenario that you will probably find yourself, okay? But do not worry, it's big enough to make it interesting, but it's still small. Your computer will be able to run it, okay? Now, I want to do something super improvised. Let me see if it works because this was not supposed to be part of it. Pega, are you here? I just want to involve Pega in the conversation. Pega, are you here? I'm not sure. Okay, maybe she's not. No, Pega is not. I don't think she's here. Okay, never mind. Later I will involve her. I know you don't know who Pega is, but I will let you know later. Anyways, yes, my friends, the mindset, this is the lens that I want you to look things at. And if you look your job from this lens, then you know, wait a minute, they are hiring me to make decisions. So everything I do has to be so that I can help these business people make decisions on their business, on their products, on their clients. So the information that you give them is going to be critical at the moment of making decisions. So if you see it from that perspective, your role is critical, because if you do the wrong analysis, as an example, you are going to make companies make it, to make the wrong decisions, and that could cost money, that could cost jobs, as an example. And as we're going to see next, it could even mislead a lot. Has anyone reflected about that from that perspective? Has anyone reflected on that from that perspective? No? Or does this help you see things from a different perspective then?
Yes, very much.
All right, good.
I have a question.
Yes, Anna, go ahead, please.
What would be the methods to identify outliers, for example?
Well, one way is actually via graphs. With graphs, as an example, if we have a scatter plot, and just as an example, we have a scatter plot, and I don't have an example from the top of my head, but let's say we have a scatter plot related to grades, as an example, in which I see who are the students and what are their common grades. If I see that everyone is, let's say, over here in the top, meaning top right, meaning high grades, as an example, but suddenly I have someone down here, I say, wait a minute, what's going on there? Or if I see that everyone, as an example, this is a good example, and I see that everyone takes 1 day to finish. No. Let's say a person takes 1 week to finish module 102, and suddenly I see that one person or 3 people take 30 minutes to finish the module. I say, wait a minute, that is clearly, it becomes clearly obvious in a chart, because the dots will be like way out there, as an example. Another type of plot that can help with that is box plots, the ones that have the bar, and then you have some lines stretching. That could also be used for outliers, as an example. So visualization helps a lot in that. And that's some of the stuff we're going to be looking at next week.
But I mean, is there a way to identify before doing the visualization, for example? Because
yeah, now I got it.
You can't interfere in the average, right?
In that sense, then we're entering the domain a bit of statistics. So we have our data, and then we do like a distribution, for example, or we do other statistical analysis that will determine, okay, from all of these values in this row, so to say, do we have outliers? But then that is entering the domain of more statistics, so to say, which you can do, by the way, here also.
You can use pandas, like there is any...
Yes, I believe. I don't have it from the top of my head, but yes, it's possible.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly. And by the way, this aspect of predictions here, what you brought up, Coffee, this is a lot of math and statistics in here as well when you're doing prediction, creating models and things of that nature. So it's a really nice field, but it's quite mathematical heavy, so to say. Yeah. Sorry, Manisha, you have had your hand open, but I'm not sure. You have a question, or was this from the past? Was it from the past?
I think it's from the past.
Okay, you cannot lower it. I can lower it for you. Okay, very good. Let's continue. We have done quite some of this. So we were saying, I want to know the survival rate per rate. So gender, in this case, the column is called sex, and then what? For each group, what do I want to know? For each gender, what do I want to know?
The survival rate.
Exactly. So in this particular case, the column is survived. And what do I want to know? Kind of the average. So there you have it. And then I could multiply it to have it like as a percentage, so to say. So again, we can see that the females had a higher chance or survived higher percentage survival than male. Okay, very good. Let me go into one that is a bit more complicated because this has been a bit easy. Let's go to number 7. What is the survival rate per class, per gender? So if I need to express that in plain English, what does that mean? That I want to know the survival rate per class, per gender. What does that mean? If I'm asking, you're an analyst, go ahead, Coffee. But if I am an analyst and I say, hey, I want to know the survival rate per class, per gender, in plain English, Coffee, what does that mean? What will you give me then?
Okay, so first and foremost, we want to look at the survival rate, as in how many people survived, and then we want to look at for each class how many men and how many women
exactly
survived per each class.
Exactly. So I have like first class, the survival rate for men was X, the survival rate of women was Y. For the second class, the survival rate of men was this exactly. And that is the first step. We begin by asking, okay, what is it really that we're being asked? And then we say, okay, now I know what I need to do. I need to group by, but in this case, I need to group by 1 parameter, 2 parameters, 3 parameters. How many parameters?
2.
Exactly, 2, which in this case is the P class, and then the sex, and then I want to know the survived, and then dot mean. I run it, and boom, exactly what you described, Coffee. For first class, female is this. I can to make it a little bit nicer. So we can see that almost, you could say almost every female in the first class survived and in the second class survived. But well, I guess 50-50 chance you had as a female to survive in there. Your chances were definitely a little bit better if you were a male on the first class, but if you were in the second and third, pretty much your survival rate was the same. So I guess no difference there. But interesting to see how big drop in the females. Yeah. Good. Let's continue. Let's look into another interesting. So I have many. Here, number 11. How many men and Coffee? Yes, sorry, I didn't see your hand.
Yes. Okay. So on the question we just solved, the 7. Yes. And realize that in finding the survival rate, we've been using the mean. And is it because of the nature of the data in the column of survival, because we have 0 and 1, in which we know
yes.
that when we are summing up, it will only add the ones because 0 will not have any effect. That's why we are using
correct.
dot mean.
That's correct. Because you could have said to me, hey, Humberto, because survived, you might say, based on what we learned in Python, we could say survived is a Boolean variable, true and false. And it's correct. We could have changed this column to instead say true and false. But then when we want to do analysis like count how many people survived, doing that with a true or false value would be a little bit problematic. So instead, as you say, yes, we do the ones and zeros. So yeah. And it has to do with the aspect that you mentioned with the math. Yes. Does that answer the question?
Yes, because I was thinking that so that in different situations and for a different data set, you may have to use a different method of getting that.
Yes, exactly. Correct.
Okay.
Correct. It's the same as this one. No, sorry. This is actual 1 and 0. This is an actual count. Yeah, this is an actual count. Good observation. Yes, exactly. Good observation. Nice. Exactly. Continue. Let's see. Where were we? Which 11? How many men and women were in each
Humberto,
class? Yes,
sorry.
Madhurima, go ahead, please.
And say seventh question, I have one query. That is,
Yeah.
if the sex is female, so if they ask only for female survival rate, so how can we write the code?
Do you mean
If
to still
they
divide
ask what is the survival rate per
of
class
only female?
Only females.
Okay, so you mean to only show female here, female
Yeah.
here, and
Yes.
female here?
Yes.
It is possible. But
We can just write df.group by p class female survived dot mean.
No, because if we do female, let me show you very quickly. If I do female, this will actually break. And the reason is because we do not have a column called female. Female is a value for a column. So when we do group by, we indicate what are the columns that we want to group by. And in this case, we say P class and sex, because those are the two columns. Now, what you ask is interesting. I do not know from the top of my head, but I know it's possible. So I need to check. I need to check on the code.
Okay.
But it is possible, yes.
Yeah, thank you.
It is possible. Good. Any more questions on this one? Any more? No? Okay, let's do number, which one was it? 11. Yes, this is a little bit similar. How many men and women were in each class? What would you say? DF, I guess group by. And based on what do I want to group by?
6.
Yes, exactly. And what else?
P class.
P class.
6.
Exactly. By the way, remember very quickly, I just want to do this very quickly. Remember that the order in which you put the stuff, the columns, matter. You see it. You see the difference. It says females the information is the same, but the way that is displayed is going to change. You see? It's going to change based on, and I would say for these problems, let's say that this were to be a homework, the order in which you would have put it, it would have not made an effect. Like it would have not been wrong if you did it like this versus if you did it like this. I mean, at the end of the day, it's kind of how you want to view it, but the information is the same. I have that the information is the same. It's just that it's portrayed or displayed a little bit differently. But do keep in mind that there is a difference, and depending on, and this is more depends on the problem, depends on the scenario, but you might prefer one over the other on some scenarios, all right? On some scenarios. But when it comes to the homework, unless I explicitly ask for something, it doesn't really matter the order that you group them, okay? Very good. Any questions so far? Any questions? All right. And this is what I want to do before we close it for today. I want to very quickly go over the homework, not the homework, but the project that you're going to be working with. I mean, you're still going to do it. You're going to go over the data set, but I want to, with you guys here, show you a little bit what the data set is about. And let me just look for it very quickly. One second. All right. So for the next project, you guys are going to be working on something that looks like this. This is actually a really nice data set regarding Airbnb. I guess everyone knows what that is. And this is Airbnb specifically. I want to say it's in LA, if I'm not mistaken. No, it's in the US. It cannot be LA because this is not LA, so it's probably New York. And basically, it's about reservation. So for each row, for example, we have the ID of each, so to say, person or booking. We have the location of the place. We also have geographical information like latitude and longitude. We have the type of room, the pricing. We have the pricing. How many nights? We have basically all the information when it comes to different Airbnbs in this stuff. Unlike the Titanic, that the Titanic was 100 something, this one is a little bit bigger. It will still be manageable on your computer, but it's still bigger. And then once again, you're going to be answering questions regarding making decisions as we explored. Of course, right now you're not really making any decision. You're not going to make any decision, but I do want you to put yourself as if you were making decisions. If you are someone from Airbnb or someone from, let's say, New York, and you want to make certain decisions about the rentals when it comes to that, or maybe you're planning on doing creating your own like having your own Airbnb and you want to in New York, and then you want to be able to analyze a little bit the market to determine what is the best option. Should you buy an apartment with 1 room, 2 rooms? Should you buy a house? And then what's more popular? So maybe this will then allow you to understand better the market so that you can make your own decision whether or not to enter in the Airbnb game or not, as an example. It doesn't really matter, but the idea is I want you to put yourself from that perspective. You're not doing this as a class assignment. You're doing this because you need to make certain business decisions, and your work is going to help in that process. So what I'm going to do is, after we're done here, I will send it to you on Discord, both the data set and the questions, and then you just put it in. You can put it under projects, and then just call it like Airbnb project, and that's it. And then you solve everything from there. Any questions about that? Any questions about that? No? All right. Coffee, you do. Go ahead, please.
I was just about to respond and no. Maybe
okay.
when we see the data set, then we would.
Yes, there might be some questions, of course. So that's basically it. Please work on this until next Wednesday. And next Wednesday, we would then start with visualization, which is going to get more interesting. Okay. So with that said, thank you everyone for today. I really hope that after today's lecture, okay, we practice a little bit more pandas and so on, but I hope that after today you realize that what you guys are doing goes beyond coding. It's about helping people or companies make decisions, and whatever analysis you make for them will have an impact on the decision-making process. You guys provided very good examples, and those were very good. But at the end, everything summarizes helping making decisions, because, well, they don't know about that. They might have a gut feeling, but you're going to make it precise, so to say. Okay, so with that said, thank you everyone for today, and then I will see you on Wednesday, next Wednesday. You have a question, Malvika? Yes.
I have CV related question.
You have a what?
CV related question. CV.
Oh, CV. Okay, sorry. Yeah, let's take it now. Let's go ahead, please.
Like we mentioned in the session, you said that you will give us a list of technologies which we will be covering so that we can mention it in the CV, like SQL, Power BI, so that I don't want to mention something and actually we don't cover it. So if you can help us with the list.
Okay, it's easier than for me to write it on Discord. I can put it there, and then all of you can see it. In that way, you don't have to take notes.
Okay.
So I would just post it on Discord.
Okay. I'm good.
Okay.
Thanks.
Sorry, do you have another one?
I mean, and they're not. I mean, for every. I mean, they're a bit.
They are more personal. Okay,
Yeah.
got it. Okay, we can take it at the end. So in that case, thank you everyone for today. I will just stay with Malvika to answer her specific questions personal to her situation. Other than that, I will see you next week. Okay. Hey to everyone. Bye bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
So yes.
Yeah. Can I?
1 second, Malvika. Yes, go ahead, please.
Okay.
1 second. I need to stop the recording.
Yeah.